Greetings. So, apart from my youthful obsession with cars, drawing cars, seeing cars, reading about cars, Hot Wheels, of course, my other major passion as a youth was science fiction. And it seems kind of odd if you really look into the things that you like, your preferences and your passions and your obsessions, you really boil down into it, you can probably find where the source of these passions and obsessions came from. And it was when mom and dad were remodeling the house. The Throughout the stagflation 70s in Oregon, unemployment was pretty bad. Dad was working in an auto shop off in Reedsport, which was better than a day's drive, so he spent most of his time, weeks at a time, sleeping in a van where he worked. He would, after hours, everything was done, everything was closed up, he would drive his old 64 Corvair van into one of the back lots, one of the back bays of the shop, and that's where he would sleep. And this is, if you think about it, how some children seem to grow up in a relatively dysfunctional, modern, well, today's dysfunction is tomorrow's standard operating procedure. But anyway, apart from the poverty, there was a stay-at-home mom. She occasionally found part-time work. She made wedding dresses and made clothes, kind of a shade tree operation of sorts. But for the most part, she was home. But the slow growing obsession with science fiction began when mother and father were remodeling the house. Father had lost the job at the mechanics shop. There was some kind of legal issue. The owners got arrested, all sorts of dirty dealings going on with that. So father was found without work. So he found a local job and was there throughout the remodeling of the house, putting in drywall, redoing the floors, all these things because we were going to move out. And it's a thing. It's become, again, another one of those standard operating procedures these days, but I remember growing up when it was a shameful thing to take welfare. It was a shameful thing to take food stamps. It was a shameful thing. I remember standing with Dad at the place where we got free government cheese and powdered milk. It's one of the reasons why I absolutely loathe Velveeta, because it was just like that, government cheese and powdered milk. I can't stand powdered milk. Though in this day and age, with the impending doom and gloom and the end of the world nigh, powdered milk might be the savior no one expected. Still, standing there, it was a relatively demeaning thing. You always had these packages, plain white label with black letters saying what it was. Everyone knew what it was. So the goal was to move out. And it's kind of a sad thing, really, because it was a beautiful area. We had a beautiful corner of a hillside, plenty of trees, off in the country, massive, huge garden that Mom maintained. But Sacrifices have to be made. And so, me being a person who has difficulty sleeping, getting to sleep, staying asleep, I was always waking up. And this was during the time when the walls in my bedroom were open because the drywall was being replaced. And on the other side of the wall was the wood stove and the chimney. And then was direct sight to the far wall where the fireplace, which was never used, was, and the television, which was always broken. And this was back in the day when you had three channels and public broadcasting. And probably after Johnny Carson and another late show and some late news, the channels would go off the air. We never had cable. And so, every once in a while you would wake up in the dead of night and hear that sss of the television because someone fell asleep in front of the television while it went off the air. But there was this sign off. You see the circle with the Indians had sometimes in the cartoons. I'm not sure what to call it. But that thing that came on with the long drawn out beep and then would go off the air. It was the same as with the sign on. It would have this image showing up on the screen and then everything would come back online. But one of the things that I noticed when I was watching what little was left of the TV as it was signing off was this not montage, but it was a short little film of a little spaceship going over the lunar surface. And I thought, me being a stupid little kid, I thought it was some kind of sci-fi story or some kind of TV show or movie. But no. It was just a 2-minute end thing before the sign-off on the television station. So, as I tried to get to sleep, I would try to visualize what was going on there. And I started to form different versions of what could be going on that lunar landscape in my head. It's a small little seed. It seems kind of insignificant, but that's what eventually grew into my drive to write science fiction. And that was one of the things that I first started writing. It was this antiquated, ancient, old Royal typewriter that probably weighed as much as I did. And it took quite a bit of effort to hammer it down the keys. But I would have this long, narrow strip of paper, and I would fish that through the rollers, and I would carefully type out my little stories. And they were the stories that a child would write. But it was a beginning. And I'm going through this mostly while I'm showing the digital footage of drawing on the comic books. Well, first off, there's only so many birds to sing, and only so many recordings I've got of bird song and thunderstorms, and there's only so many people who are willing to tolerate that. And in my drive to keep these videos as simple as possible, I'm certain that it's the standard operating procedure, another of the SOPs of life, that there should be flashing sparkles, a title, rock and roll music, a big introduction and all that. And it's just, I'm not. First off, I'm not prepared to do things like that. I have very a few skills in trying to manage that. And there's just too many things to do. So keeping the videos as simple as possible helps to streamline getting other things done. Sounds like a pretty crass and silly excuse, but that was the initial intent anyway.